Imagine if everything you thought you knew about money wasn't entirely true. Imagine if the way you behave with money mattered far more than how much you know about stocks, interest rates, or the latest financial strategies. The truth is, financial success is not about intelligence, it's about behavior. That's the core message of Morgan Housel's best-selling book, The Psychology of Money. And if you can truly understand the lessons hidden inside, it has the power to completely change your life, your financial future, and even the way you think about happiness. Before we dive into these life-changing lessons, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with someone who you know wants to improve their financial life, because what you're about to learn could shift the way you see money forever. Money is one of the few things in life that affects everyone, yet it's often misunderstood. Many of us grow up thinking that building wealth is about having the highest salary, finding the right investments, or copying what the so-called financial geniuses do. But the book shows us that money is not just numbers on a spreadsheet. It's deeply tied to emotions, fear, greed, envy, pride, and even survival. And the way we respond to those emotions often determines whether we thrive financially or stay stuck. To start, think about this: two people can have the same knowledge, the same job, the same income, yet one ends up broke while the other builds lasting wealth. Why? Because wealth isn't about what you know, it's about how you behave. This single idea is life-changing, because it takes the focus away from chasing the next hot tip and instead puts it on managing your own emotions and habits. Let's take the first lesson: luck and risk are bigger forces than we ever acknowledge. Housel points out that Bill Gates became the richest man in the world partly because he was brilliant, but also because he happened to attend one of the very few high schools in America with a computer in 1968. That stroke of luck set him on a path very few people even had access to. On the other hand, you can do everything right and still face setbacks because of bad luck, an accident, a health crisis, or a sudden economic downturn. Understanding this forces us to be humble. We stop idolizing the ultra-rich as if they cracked some secret code, and we stop blaming ourselves when life throws us curveballs. Instead, we focus on what we can control: our saving, our spending, our patience, and our ability to survive long enough to take advantage of opportunities when they appear. Another lesson is that wealth is what you don't see. This one hit me hard, because it completely flips how we think about rich people. We often look at the person driving the expensive car, wearing designer clothes, or living in a mansion, and assume they're wealthy. But Housel reminds us that true wealth is hidden. It's the money sitting quietly in a savings account, the investments compounding year after year, the financial freedom that doesn't need to be shown off. When you buy something flashy, you're not displaying wealth, you're displaying that you spent wealth. And once you see that, it changes the way you live. You realize that you don't need to impress strangers, you need to secure freedom for yourself. Think about how many people fall into the trap of working harder just to buy more things to look rich, when in reality, the richest person is the one who can wake up tomorrow and do whatever they want because they don't depend on a paycheck. And that leads into the next profound lesson: the highest form of wealth is freedom. At the end of the day, money isn't about the objects it buys, but about the control it gives you over your time. Imagine being able to wake up and decide exactly how you want to spend the day, work on your passion, take a trip, spend time with family, or do nothing at all. That's real wealth. Many people chase millions, but they forget that what they're truly chasing is autonomy. Housel explains that we don't want to be rich for the sake of the dollar amount. We want to be rich so that we don't have to say yes when we want to say no, and so that our time is ours. This perspective is freeing, because it helps you align your financial goals not with material things, but with the deeper desire for independence. Now let's talk about saving, because this lesson could literally make or break your financial future. Housel argues that savings rate beats income, beats investment returns, and beats intelligence. Why? Because savings is the gap between your ego and your income. The smaller your ego, the less you feel the need to show off, the more you can save. And the more you save, the more options you have. It doesn't matter if you earn $50,000 or $500,000. If you spend it all, you're not wealthy. The person who saves consistently, regardless of income, builds resilience. Think of it like oxygen. When things go wrong, and they will, your savings give you the breathing room to survive. And survival is everything, because survival gives your money the chance to grow over time. This brings us to the magic of compounding, which is another lesson most people underestimate. Compounding doesn't just apply to money, it applies to habits, skills, and knowledge. But in money, it's particularly powerful. Housel points out that Warren Buffett's net worth isn't impressive because he's a great investor. It's impressive because he started investing at age 10 and never stopped. The majority of his wealth came after his mid-60s. The key takeaway here is that time matters more than timing. You don't need to pick the perfect stock or time the market. You just need to stay invested for decades. Compounding only works if you let it run long enough. And the only way to let it run is to avoid blowing yourself up financially along the way. That's why humility, patience, and survival are more important than brilliance. Another game-changing idea is that money's value is not fixed, it's personal. Each of us has a money story shaped by our upbringing, our experiences, and even our traumas. Someone who grew up in poverty will see money differently from someone who always had abundance. One person might see investing in the stock market as risky, while another sees not investing as the bigger risk, and neither is wrong, because money is emotional. This explains why some people hoard money, others spend it quickly, and others invest aggressively. Once you realize that everyone's financial behavior makes sense in the context of their own life story, you stop judging and instead focus on designing your own system that works for you. Let's also discuss the dangers of greed, because this lesson is crucial. Enough is never enough if you don't define what enough looks like. Countless people have lost fortunes not because they weren't wealthy, but because they wanted just a little more. They didn't know when to stop. Envy drives people to take risks they don't need, to stretch further than they should, and often to lose everything. The antidote is defining what enough means for you personally. Maybe it's the ability to cover your lifestyle comfortably. Maybe it's the freedom to retire early. Maybe it's just peace of mind knowing your family is secure. Whatever it is, once you define enough, you can stop the endless chase. This lesson saves you from the trap of comparing yourself to others, which is a losing game because there will always be someone richer. Housel also teaches us that pessimism sounds smarter than optimism, but optimism wins over time. The news loves to focus on crashes, crises, and disasters, because fear grabs attention. But if you zoom out, the long-term story of the world is progress. Economies grow, technology advances, living standards improve. Being optimistic doesn't mean ignoring risks. It means acknowledging that setbacks are temporary while growth is permanent. If you constantly expect the world to collapse, you'll never invest, never take risks, and you'll miss out on the compounding of progress. The lesson here is simple: be realistically optimistic, prepare for setbacks, but bet on the long-term growth of humanity. Now let's tie these lessons together, because they're not just theory, they're tools for living. If you combine humility about luck and risk, the discipline of saving, the patience for compounding, the perspective of defining enough, and the pursuit of freedom over materialism, you create a financial life that is unshakable. You stop living for appearances and start living for security and peace of mind. You stop chasing the impossible game of more and instead focus on building a life you actually enjoy. Think about how liberating this is. Imagine not needing to impress anyone. Imagine being able to take opportunities or walk away from toxic situations because you have the financial cushion to do so. Imagine knowing that even if the stock market crashes tomorrow, you'll survive because you've built your finances around resilience, not perfection. This is what the psychology of money is really teaching us. It's not about getting rich quick. It's about staying rich, about lasting wealth, about designing a life that gives you control. If there's one last lesson to remember, it's this: money is just a tool. It's not the goal, it's the vehicle. The goal is a life well lived, a life where you wake up every day knowing you're secure, free, and at peace. If you can see money that way, not as a scoreboard, not as a way to impress others, but as a tool to create freedom, then you've already won the game. So now I'll turn the question to you. What does wealth mean to you personally? Is it freedom, security, experiences, or legacy? Let me know in the comments, because defining this for yourself is the first step in living differently with money. And if you found these lessons valuable, do me a favor, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. The more people who understand the psychology of money, the more financially free we can all become. Because in the end, financial success isn't about being the smartest, it's about being reasonable, humble, patient, and consistent. And if you take these lessons seriously, you won't just change your bank account, you'll change your entire life.